Hi, thank you for waiting. Today's webinar topic is how smart retailers use data to grow profitably. Joining us are two wonderful speakers who will provide invaluable insight. We have Manish Chowdhury, CEO of Pulse Commerce. He has about 20 years experience in the e-commerce space. We also have Jim Nicola, Director of Sales and Marketing for JunoActive.com. Jim has over 30 years of apparel buying and merchandising management experience within all facets of retail, big box, brick and mortar, online, and omnichannel. Together, their knowledge and expertise should help guide your own e-commerce endeavors. Before we begin, a couple of housekeeping rules. Please type any questions you may have in the Q&A section and not the chat section. At the end, we'll answer as many as we have time for. If we don't get to your question during the webinar, we will be answering them by email. Without further ado, let me turn it over to Manish.
Thank you, Lena. Really appreciate it. We're excited to be here. I also want to thank our guest speaker, Jim Nicola, for joining us. I want to start out with giving a little bit of introduction about Pulse Commerce to the audience so they have a better sense for where we are coming from and how we are qualified to speak on this topic. Pulse Commerce is a leading order and inventory platform. Our merchants use our solution to achieve seamless, unified commerce. As we know today, commerce is exceedingly complex with a plethora of sales channels. As you see from this screen, customers are buying not only in the brick and mortar stores, but more and more online, not just B2C or business to consumer customers, but a large number of business to business customers also prefer to buy online these days through multitudes of websites. Customers are researching products on comparison shopping engines such as Google Shopping, Nextag, and such. And there is a growing prevalence of online marketplaces such as Amazon, Jet.com, Walmart. Consumers love shopping at these marketplaces for their convenience. And we cannot also forget the traditional contact center. With all these different channels comes a lot of complexity of managing product, inventory, pricing, customers, and orders. And that is what our solution is designed to do, is to achieve seamless commerce by providing a single source solution for all these different channels and fulfillment centers so that our merchants can achieve buy anywhere, return anywhere, and fulfill from anywhere strategy. Just to talk a little bit further about our solution, and then we will go right into the content of the webinar. A lot of this content was derived by looking at the questions that we see from merchants, what our hundreds of merchants experience, and what challenges they're facing. So we hope that you will get some practical tips and advice, both from me and from Jim Nicola, who lives and breathes this every day. So when you look at Enterprise Order Management System from Pulse Commerce, there are some key attributes of our technology. One, distributed order management. We help facilitate order orchestration, back order management, and all of this complexity grows tremendously as you add multiple fulfillment centers and fulfillment options and inventory. We provide our merchants with a single view of the inventory across their enterprise, which includes their distribution centers, their fulfillment centers, and even their stores. We also help our merchants fulfill their orders in the most optimum and efficient way. There's a lot of science that goes behind making sure that the customer gets their orders quickly, accurately, and also we need to keep them informed throughout the journey, both pre-purchase and also post-purchase. Customer service and loyalty is a huge premium, and merchants that are looking for long-term sustainable business advantage must pay close attention to this, and that is why we built a number of tools in our platform to help accomplish just that. And last but not least, product information management. As we saw on the slide earlier, there are lots of different sales channels. They all consume product information differently. So you don't want to be managing hundreds of spreadsheets or re-entering product information in multiple formats. Ideally, you will enter data once, and then you will repurpose it to suit whatever channel and syndicate your content. And that is what our system allows you to do. And it allows you to do across multiple sales channels, which is where the complexity grows tremendously. And last but not least, we provide actionable insights, intelligence, and reporting right within our platform. So our merchants don't have to go elsewhere or wrestle with spreadsheets or third-party apps. So this is a huge advantage to anybody who is using our platform. And we'll see in the upcoming slides how our merchants are taking advantage of that, including Juno Active, who's on this call with us today. Data-driven decision-making is not new. This is how the top retailers make decisions, win, and compete in the market today. And I've just taken two examples here just to show you what's happening in the marketplace. Amazon and Walmart are at war with each other, as we know. The advantage for the consumer is consumers are getting better prices. However, the cost of servicing those customers are going up dramatically, especially in the age of free shipping, instant gratification. So what's that leading to is lower margins. We are seeing declining gross margins from retailers across the board, which means especially small and mid-sized retailers need to buckle up and really leverage data to guide decision-making so that they can compete with these behemoths. By way of comparison, Amazon is huge, but in way of sales, they're still about 1/4 in terms of gross annual sales, but that gap is rapidly shrinking. Amazon has higher gross profit margins, but lower net profit margins because they're investing a lot in their infrastructure and also trying to beat the prices down. So key difference between Amazon and Walmart, they're both playing to their strengths. Amazon with an Amazon Prime membership, which offers free shipping, free 2-day shipping throughout the US, free movies, music, storage, which is Amazon's secret weapon in competition with Walmart and others. Walmart, with its large store footprint, is taking advantage of its strength with buy online, pick up in store. Consumers can get a discount for picking the item up in store. And we know that once consumers come into the store, they typically buy some more. And our data suggests that you can increase cross-sell or additional incremental sales by up to 20% when customers come to pick up their items in store. Why do you need data to make decisions? It's simple. Data and analytics help you answer some very important questions. You might ask, what kind of questions? So we've presented you with some examples here. For example, you should know or would want to know, what are your top 3 opportunities to improve sales or profit this month, this quarter, perhaps this holiday season? You must be curious and you must ask these questions off your data. Which are your top 10 selling items that are most likely to go out of stock before they get restocked or before you reorder them? It'll be great for you to know this information before that happens. And also, questions such as, which items are the biggest driver of cross-sell of other products? This will help you with your sourcing logic. It will help you with better inventory planning. I wish to share with you a number of key performance indicators, KPI, that applies to different facets of the business. So hopefully you can get some actionable advice that you can take back to your team and evaluate your business accordingly. Sales and orders are the first low-hanging fruit, easy to spot, easy to track. But what are the kind of metrics that you should be looking at? You should be looking at your total sales. You should also be looking at your gross margins. So if you're not looking at margins, both in terms of absolute dollar amount and the percentage. You should also look at number of units sold. And on the order side, you should look at the number of orders, average order value, and average order gross margin. But this is not enough. This is only getting half of the information. The beauty really lies when you start comparing this data, because data in absolute terms does not tell the full story. You want to know how you did how were your sales compared to, say, the prior year or the prior period and the forecast. You'd ideally want to look at all three so you know what's happening in your business. But you got to go one step beyond that. You should drill down to understand why the change took place. Whether it's positive or negative, it's very important to figure out what was the cause that led to the positive or negative movement. When you start drilling down, you can understand the changes by sales channel. Perhaps you underinvested in a marketing vehicle or marketing program, and that's why your sales were down. Or perhaps your pay-per-click ads are performing really well, or perhaps your competitor was out of stock on a very popular item that you sell on Amazon, and that is what led to your sales. And then being able to drill down at the store level, at the channel level, category, even item and SKU, and promotion code. So please stick around because we have a very interesting case study on how to calculate ROI for your promotions. It's something that we see is often missed by retailers because they're so busy selling that they many times forget to analyze whether it's profitable sales or not so profitable. So continuing with our KPIs journey, the other key category that you should be looking at is inventory. And what is the single biggest inventory metrics that retailers must track? It is inventory turns. And many of our audience may have already heard of this, but it's good to repeat this. What is an inventory turn? Inventory turn is computed as annual cost of goods sold divided by your average inventory. So higher the number, the more capital efficient you are, the more operationally better you're running, which means less of your money is tied up in inventory, which is perhaps retailers' highest cost. So companies that do well and turns inventory frequently are more profitable, are also more valuable. As you can see from the data here, Costco seems to be doing really well, that they turn the inventory every 32 days, which means they're doing about 11.4 turns every year. And this is great news. So you should definitely be monitoring this and making sure that you're achieving at least a certain desirable rate of turn. Otherwise, you may not be as capital efficient, even if you're selling and growing. And this is a number that an investor would want to know. Likewise, Amazon and Walmart are neck to neck with turning inventory every 46 days. And that is no small feat with over $485 billion in sales for Walmart. That requires some serious planning and data-driven approach to inventory planning and execution. However, just looking at the inventory turn doesn't tell you the whole picture. How do you accomplish high inventory turn? You must drill down into the data, and the questions that you need to ask are things like, which product categories are turning over the fastest? Which stores or sales channels are selling which items the fastest? Which items will be out of stock soon? Can you prune the number of SKUs that you carry? Because the larger number of SKU in your warehouse, the harder to manage, harder to maintain, harder to keep track of, which means your cost goes up. And think about shifting inventory between fulfillment centers, between stores, instead of buying, because you want to accomplish high inventory turns. So we have a really good example for you here. Let's say you only had $10,000 to buy inventory, and you had an option to allocate that between two products. In this particular case, we have on the left, Dermasport facial set. It's a gift pack that contains two items. And on the right, you have Stretch Naturals cotton stretch tank. One item, the Dermasport, turns over 11.4 times a year versus the tank top, which only turns 7.9. But they both have the same exact margin, 50% gross margin. However, because the Dermasport turns over at a much your tank top, the Dermasport will produce $228,000 in revenue per year compared to $158,000 from the tank top. So you can see higher inventory turn of the product on the left led to $70,000 in additional revenue from the same amount of capital. The same $10,000 led you to produce $70,000 higher revenue, which also translates to higher profits. So if you did not do this level of analysis, you would never know which product to allocate your inventory to, what to buy more of, what to buy less of. And this is the kind of data science that your larger peers are using to beat. But the good news is you have access to this information, and you should be looking at it so that you can improve your business performance. Continuing on with our KPIs journey, so we looked at orders, we looked at sales, we looked at inventory. Now, let's look at shipping, returns, discounts. So shipping continues to be a big cost center for retailers. Approximately 5 to 15% of the average order value is dedicated to shipping cost. It's not uncommon to see this number. In the age of Amazon Prime, customers expect free shipping, and most retailers are having to oblige. So what you must track? You must track your total shipping cost, and you should also track that against the invoice in terms of how much are you charging the customer. You should track the shipping cost per order and at the item level, because some items are more expensive to ship than the others. So it helps you with the inventory planning, especially if you're going to give away that item in free shipping. You should also calculate and track shipping as a percentage of sales by category and by SKU. There's a great opportunity for retailers to examine their carrier bills, FedEx and UPS, and what you might see in your software may not always line up with the numbers that your carrier is charging. It's very common for us to see surcharges levied by FedEx and UPS. So your total actual bill may not be the same as what you think it is. There's an opportunity for you to study that and bring that intelligence back to avoid things like accessorial charges, to avoid things like address correction fees or service upgrades. So all of that information is highly valuable to optimize the business. Let's look at returns. It's not uncommon to see retailers, especially online retailers, deal with up to 30% of orders being returned back to them. It varies by category. Some categories have a higher rate of return, such as footwear, apparel, and I know Jim, who's on the call with us, may talk a little bit more on this, because I know he monitors this very closely. Even offline purchases are returned. About 8% of items that are bought in stores are returned. Therefore, it's very important to keep track of this important cost. So you must track percentage and dollar returns. Track them by item, track them by order, track them by channel. Maybe some stores you're seeing a higher than average rate of return, and what can you do to fix it? You should also track by promotions. Are certain promotions leading customers to buy, but the customers are not satisfied and they are returning the item? So it may temporarily make you feel good that you're having higher sales, but if returns eat into that margin later, your business is not performing just as well. And where else are you bleeding? Promotions. This is perhaps one of the most lowest hanging fruit for majority of the merchants, and we often see this missed, especially with the smaller mid-sized retailers. But they don't quite have the same discipline and rigor of tracking their cost of promotions. So good news is for people that are using the Pulse Commerce platform, this information is readily available, so they don't have to do much. Which promotions are working and which ones are not, that alone is not sufficient. You must go deeper. Look at sales. Look at the total amount of discounts given. Look at the share of sales with and without discount. And also calculating ROI on promotions. So I have a slide at the end where I'm going to teach you how to calculate ROI on promotions. Very important. And we often see retailers find this challenging. And once you have all these KPIs, so we touched on orders, inventory, shipping, returns, promotions. Those are your top KPIs. But the key is leveraging that data, that report, that information to make business decisions. The goal of the data is to drive the business and give you greater confidence in making that decision. So always be curious when you look at your reports. Compare them to a different period. Compare them, and then try to diagnose what led to that change. It does not matter whether the change was positive or negative, but once you get into the discipline of understanding data and be able to pinpoint what led to what effect, you'll be well informed. Which stores, products, or promotions drove the change? Was there a competitive promotion that stole sales in form of returns? Be cautious to not immediately jump into buying more units of certain products that are running low or have no inventory. You don't want to replace them with items that have low turnover, because those items are going to sit in your warehouse for a long time and collect dust, and they depreciate. And if you're shipping those items to a place like Amazon FBA, you have to pay a lot of fees for the items to be storage fees and so on. So those costs will add up. So you need to be cautious. Low ROI promotions. All promotions are not created equal, so you must always track the ROI on your promotions. And I'll teach you in the next slide how to do it. Products with high returns. Once again, if you're only tracking your sales numbers and not tracking returns, you might feel good about your sales, but those are coming back in form of returns and hurting your margins. But there's a real opportunity there to study the reason for the return. Perhaps you don't have better pictures, or the product description is not adequate, or the product description is misleading. If you're selling on Amazon and other marketplaces, consumers really, maybe they're misguided. Or how else can we inform the customer better to potentially cut down the number of returns, or to completely potentially eliminate that item altogether if it's not contributing to your sales and your margins. And once you know what's working, that's when you double down. You want to order more items that have high inventory turnover. If you find that certain promotion is working well and it's producing a high ROI, you want to increase that investment. You want to go more aggressive. You always have to be thinking about your next sale. It's a journey. You want customers keep coming back. It's the repeat customers that are 7 times more valuable than the first-time customer. So If you're selling baseball bat, you know how to cross-sell the gloves and the balls, and perhaps those sales are coming, so you want to have some inventory allocated towards that and your promotion calendar to be promoting those at the right strategic locations. So we've created a small capability scorecard for merchants. It's something that you can take back with you and ask your team to rate you on how you're doing against these metrics. Profitability at the category and SKU level, average order value by channel, by store, by marketing vehicle, gross margins by category and SKU, inventory turns, very important. That's one of the biggest metrics that if you ever decide you want to sell your business, that's one metric that the investor will look at very closely, inventory turns by category and SKU, sales by promotion code. But that's not enough. You've got to also track gross margins by promotion code. And also know the difference between your leading and lagging KPIs. Some data you can only looking backwards, meaning what happened. Some KPIs will let you anticipate what's to come and allow you to prepare for them. So lagging KPIs are the ones that will tell you what's coming. Anticipating inventory issues before they happen. So if you know the days of stock for each of your items or by category, you can reduce your number of stock outs. You should use exception reports to identify the issues and reevaluate the items, based on inventory turns and post-discount gross margins before reordering. Just don't blindly reorder. You should perform this exercise on a quarterly basis. Anticipate inventory needs. You should be monitoring things like Google Trends to see what products are people searching for, which items are gaining in popularity. If you knew early on if people were looking for fidget spinners and you saw the trend coming and you were the first one to have that item in stock, you could promote that aggressively. You should also look at your site search logs to see what keywords are people searching. Where are you getting 0 results? These are the items that you should be carrying because your customers are looking for them, but you don't have them in stock or you don't carry them altogether. And once the customer leaves your website or your store to go to a competitor, they might never come back. And also monitor your gift certificate sales because the recipients are going to come back and redeem their gift certificates, which means those sales are coming and those items should be in stock. You should also monitor your site traffic. If your site traffic is going up, it's an indicator that people will be buying more stuff from you, so you must be prepared accordingly for inventory. Increase in gift certificate sales around the holidays. And if a lot of people are buying the baseball bat, you should better be carrying the glove and the balls before they make that search somewhere else and buy from a competitor. And you must anticipate returns. Returns is a reality of retail. So if you don't anticipate them, it's not going to go away. So returns will always lag sales. Monitor returns for items that have high return rates. Create exception reports for sales. So these are some of the things that you should also be looking at in addition to looking strictly at your inventory and order reports. For me, and before we turn it over to Jim. So as I mentioned earlier, I want to teach you how to calculate ROI and promotion discounts. This is often, merchants are not fully aware or don't always know how best to calculate it. So this is a math formula. The first is your return, which is total unit sales. So if I was running a promotion for a specified period of time, how many units did I sell during the period of promotion? So in order to calculate the return, I will first find out the total units sold when the promotion was in effect, minus what would I have sold if the promotion was not in effect, so my average sales, unit sales, times margin, my gross margin after discount. And I'll explain this to you with an example. An investment is your average unit sales times discount plus promotion expense. So let's break this down. Say you were selling an item for $200 and you bought it at $100. The $100 is your cost of goods. Your average weekly sales was 200 units, meaning this is your average when the promotion is not in effect. And let's say you issue a 20% discount code for people to buy. And as a result of that 20% special discount, you ended up selling 400 units instead of the regular 200. So how do you calculate your return? The total units sold, which is 400, minus average unit sales, which is 200, which is the number you would have sold otherwise, times gross margin. So because I gave 20% discount, I have 80% applied to my sale price, which is 200, minus my cost of goods, which is $100. So my return was $12,000 on this promotion. And my investment, which is my cost of discount, 20% of 200 is 40, and that's how we end up with a total investment of $8,000. So how do you compute your ROI? Is return minus investment divided by return. So basically, or divided by investment. So you end up with a 50% ROI, which is not bad. But you should do this exercise for every promotion by category, by SKU, so you can see which promotions are performing better based on the goals you're trying to accomplish, whether it's sales or profitability. So this is a very important exercise. I will hand this over to our moderator.
Thank you, Manish. That was very informative. And now we'll pass it to Jim. As I mentioned, he is the sales director for Juno Active, a successful plus-size swim and activewear company with a focus on innovative design and comfort. Jim has tons of experience with analyzing data to get positive results and growing his company based on consumer insights. Welcome, Jim, and thank you for your time today.
Thanks. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yes, Jim, we can hear you fine.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah, no, that's sometimes you don't know those things. So I think Manish, you touched on a lot of great points, and I think really from a retailer's perspective, especially an online retailer, it's always about not only sales but profitability. So you touching on the points of turns, and I just want to touch on the point of some of the other things that you had mentioned that really go into not only sales driven but profitability driven a business, and that is a couple of things. Shipping, we were using one of the major shippers, and in looking at the contract, and to your point, really spend some time looking at your bill, because this vendor was charging us $29 to pick up every week that we didn't realize was a part of that. And the especially hard-hitting thing were the extra dim weight costs, which now most of these big shippers not only really charge you by what the actual weight is, but what they think the weight should be based on the size of the package. So that was kind of an eye-opener too. So my suggestion is for people to really kind of look at those contracts that you have. Also, our third-party warehouse, we really dug into that one and came to an agreement of a more equitable distribution of the costs between what they were providing and what we needed. But I think the two biggest drivers for profitability and the ones that you can really affect, because really our contract with our third-party warehouse and our shipping provider once you sign that contract, that's pretty much written in stone until you can renegotiate. But really the things that you can affect every day by watching your business are the cost of promotions. So, back to your point about ROI, Manish, and really, and how are you doing that? How are you doing to forecast? And these are the things that I personally look at weekly, just about every day on Monday to get through the, so that we have the weekend sales in. And that's what, is one of the benefits of the Pulse Commerce system is in the reporting section, there is a report that you can, has tons of drill down ability. And the best thing about it is you can do it by date, in between dates, so that when I look at the week, I can just pull up the week and look at it, and how much discounts did we give away as compared to the sales? Did those discounts drive sales, and did they do it profitably? And the other biggest leverage that you can quickly look at and really do something about, to your point, Manish, is returns. And again, in the Pulse Commerce system, in the reporting section, there is returns. I think it's returns daily. So you can actually see, and again, very good drill down ability to see what's being returned and how much that's costing you. So those are two big KPIs that we have, because those are the things that make the biggest difference, whether besides obviously sales, as making a difference to the bottom line. So the cost of promotions, did it drive sales? How was that based on what you forecasted you were going to spend on discounts, and your returns, and how are you performing to what you forecasted there? So I think it's important, obviously, especially when you have a 3 or 5 year plan and you have growth planned, is to really not only look at what happened last year, because hopefully you're doing things better than you did last year because you learned a lot by all this data, but also to look at based on your forecast. And here's the one, and basically I just wanted to point out that this is really probably one of the most important tools, and that is the sales by item summary. Well, obviously, being in the apparel business, we're very SKU driven, so everything is separate. Everything is its own SKU by size and color. So it just makes that much more things you kind of got to keep your eye on. I tried to do the drill downs, but the first drill down is it basically pops up with just certain columns, but under the tab columns there, that has a drill out. So I can add, which I did here, I added our vendor for those items, and then because a lot of our categories are based on vendors, so that's easy for me to track as far as categories. And I think one of the most important things is, as I look at weekly sales, is if you go all the way over to the right-hand column, and again, this is one of the other nice things about having the one system, the Pulse Commerce system that runs our inventory too, is on the right-hand side, it shows the current inventory for those items. So not only can I see the performance for the week, but I can get to the oops right away, which, as you can see in the kind of bottom examples, in the what happens to be the black solid, the third up from the bottom, 2X, and the white solid underwear there from the 3X and 3X, those are sitting at 0 right now. So those, and again, from an exception point, I could go right just from running the business, I know that those are current high turnover items, so I definitely want to get those reordered. So right here, kind of all in one fell swoop, and again, if you click on the blue bar where all the headers are, and then you get this pop-up where you can also go to the columns, and then you can also group by any column that you want either. So there's a lot of customability right here. And then if you want to do some different things with it, obviously you can throw it into an Excel spreadsheet and break it down even further. So it's a really fast tool every week on Monday. It doesn't take me very long, and I just extract so much data from our business on what happened the previous week. So that I think the important thing is that it's just a way of quickly finding out where you are in your business, and then kind of gives you a game plan of what you want to do the following week for those things that you can affect. So, hey, I need to place an order. Hey, we gave too many discounts. We planned on doing a similar discount this week. Maybe we want to lower that a little bit. So all those decision-making things in just an hour to maybe 2 hours of time on a Monday can greatly affect the business. So I think that's probably the most important point that I wanted to get across.
Well, thank you, Jim. I know that when we were speaking last week, you also had some great examples on insights that you were getting from the unusual places, with reviews. Would you like to talk a little bit about that? Because oftentimes merchants think that all the gold is just in reports. But,
no, great point, Manish. And thanks for reminding me. Yeah, I think. And actually, we had a brand new one. Again, our founder, Ann Kelly, started this business in 1995, and she noticed when she was at a workout that those women that happened to be plus size, they were just wearing. The only thing they had available to them were basically men's gray sweatpants and shirts, and she thought that was very unfair. So she started back in the 90s it was catalogs, and today it's online only. But one of the things that was developed is they called it the seashell shirt, and it was a 100% cotton T-shirt, but it was very roomy and it fit very well, and a lot of people just like cotton. So in this performance apparel-driven world that we are today, we kind of forget about that customer, and a lot of our customers who happen to be our very important customers that like to spend a lot of money with us made a lot of suggestions about bringing that back. So we've found a great vendor to bring that back, update it a little bit, but kind of throw that back. So sometimes, old is new again, and without the customer reviews and the monitoring of those every week, we probably would have never did that, because we all think we're probably smarter than our customers are, but it's always the other way around, right? Because they drive the business.
Right, Jim. That's a great example. And you also had some additional insight that you had gotten about how your customers were using your product in terms of the utility of the product.
Oh, yeah.
And you
Sorry
might have
about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that, again, we always forget, don't we? Plus, I'm getting old. We sell an item that's pretty unique to us. It's called an aquatard, which is basically it's all made out of swimsuit material, and basically a longer length swim short and a swim-like T-shirt, but it's all melded into one, so it's almost like a wetsuit. It is probably the biggest thing that I can compare it to. A wetsuit with shorts, maybe. And it's got zip up for easy on and off. And our customer, somebody had wrote in and said that they actually use that for running in. They actually do triathlons. So that gave us another way. Not only obviously we use it on our blog and things like that as something unique, but it gives you another way to market it also. So without that knowledge, we would just keep saying swimsuit, swimsuit, swimsuit. But here, we found another marketing avenue where we could market it as a performance garment for athletic and not just a swimsuit. Just because it's made out of swimsuit material it doesn't make it just a swimsuit. Actually, it's probably better performing fabric than anything else.
Okay, thank you so much, Jim, for your knowledge. I'm sure our audience appreciates it. If anyone still needs to add a question to our Q&A section, definitely feel free to do so now. We'll give everyone some time to type. So the first question is for Jim. It says, Jim touched on a couple of reports he relies on, but what other native reports does Pulse Commerce have that are useful? Oh, this is actually for Manish. Apologize.
Okay. Well, I think either one of us can take that, but there are many, many reports that are available out of the box, and we built a reporting engine. It's not just a report, canned report, as Jim alluded to. You can take any report and customize it using many different parameters and save them as a custom report that's unique to you. And each merchant and each user can do that and share them with certain groups of users within their company. There's one of the reports that's one of my favorites is the gross sales channel margins report. That's really a top-level P&L, profit and loss report that gives you all the key metrics in one very easy-to-read format. So it's almost like what you would get from something like a QuickBooks. You can then drill this down by channel. So how is one store performing the other? How is one channel performing against the other? And the best of it is you can also compare it to a different period. So you don't have to go to another application, and you don't have to deal with any Excel manipulation. So if I wanted to compare this week's sales versus last week, for example, I can do that with a click of a button. If I want to compare this week's sales with the same week last year, I can do that. So this helps you track and analyze, some weeks may have, bad weather, so you can attribute good or bad sales to that or the movement. So the key is retailers must remain curious. They must get into the habit of trying to diagnose what led to that shift or change, and then being able to accurately track that down so that they can make the right decisions and make the appropriate adjustments to affect that number and the KPI.
If I could just chime in on that, I think the best thing really to Manish's point is to really kind of sit down, take a step back, say what are the important KPIs that really help drive our business? Where do I find that information in the Pulse Commerce system? If I don't know or I can't find it, go online in the system. There's a ton of information at a click of a button under the help. If you can't find it under the help, then shoot the terrific support team a quick question about where to find it. Get that all laid out, and then just start monitoring that, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever benefits your company the most, and then act upon those things that you find.
All right, thank you both for that answer. It looks like we're pretty much out of time. If you missed anything or need to review a section, we'll be sending an on-demand link through email shortly. If you have any questions that pop up later in the day, feel free to reach out to us, and our contact info is on the slide. Thank you, Jim and Manish, for joining us today. We appreciate the knowledge and your time. Have a good rest of your day, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Thank you, Lena. Thank you, Jim. Thanks, everyone.